What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kayla. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, today I am going to be talking about how to become a forensic psychologist. I know you guys have been waiting for this video for a very long time, and here I am finally here to produce it for you. So just a little bit of background about me. In May of 2019, I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree in forensic psychology. In August of this year, specifically August 22nd, I will be graduating with a Master's of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling, so I will be a therapist. And exciting news, I have started applying for doctorate programs in clinical forensic psychology. So that's just a little bit of background about me. All of the information that I will be talking about today has come from the professors that I have had in the field, and also just my experience and the things that I have had to do to work on becoming a forensic psychologist. Also, if you are not already, make sure you subscribe down below and join the family, and we are going to get right into how you can become a forensic psychologist. So the first thing I am going to talk about is, what is forensic psychology? So forensic psychology is the study of psychology and the law. So usually when people hear forensic psychology, I think the first thing they think of is criminal minds, right? And that is a part of forensic psychology. Criminal profiling is something that you can do as a forensic psychologist. You would have to go to the FBI, and you would actually have to work as a field agent first and then work your way into the BAU. So that's an actual career choice. But there are forensic psychologists in every aspect of every part of the law. So you have forensic psychologists who can do jury selection. You have forensic psychologists who can testify if someone is competent to stand trial. You have forensic psychologists who may talk about eyewitness testimony and the credibility of an eyewitness. You have forensic psychologists in your police departments and your court systems and all of that. So forensic psychologists can be in every aspect of the law. Myself, I want to work in a prison system and be an actual psychologist for those in the prison system to reduce recidivism rates. So that is my ultimate goal. Of course, I want to dabble into some other things as well, but that is my primary goal. So forensic psychology is just the study of psychology and the law. So if you think about why someone offends, why someone recidivates, stuff like that, that's going to be your forensic psychology. Criminology and forensic psychology are very similar, and people often get them confused. Criminology is the sociology part of it, and forensic psychology is the psychology part of it. So that's pretty much, you know, the difference. Criminology is looking at the societal aspect, whereas forensic psych is looking at the psychological, the human brain, the individualized part of why a person committed a crime, for example. Education requirements for a forensic psychologist. So for the most part, you will need a doctorate degree in forensic psychology. So that can be either a PsyD or a PhD. Some people, depending on what you want to do, you can actually go straight from your bachelor's degree to a doctorate degree. Some people choose the bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree route, which is what I am doing. So either way is good. It depends on you and who you are as a person. If you genuinely feel like you are ready for a doctorate program, I would suggest going straight from your bachelor's into your doctorate. I think what you have to look into is your time management skills and how you were able to handle things. Doctorate programs and even master's programs are very rigorous, and it takes a lot of time and dedication and a lot of energy. And sometimes going straight into a doctorate program may not be for you. A master's program, while yes, it is still rigorous, it is a step lower than a doctorate program, and it can actually prepare you for what graduate school will be like, so that way you know what works and what didn't work. So that way when you graduate from your master's program and you go into a doctorate program, you know how to maneuver around graduate school. For me, graduate school was completely different than undergrad. There was a lot of different components that I had to learn how to do, because as an undergrad, it's not something that you're taught. So I am very grateful that I did a master's degree before I went into my doctorate program, because now I feel more ready to go into my doctorate program and kick ass. So like I said, you can either do a bachelor's degree straight to your PhD, or you can do a bachelor's to master's to PhD program. Either one is okay. Again, just figure out what's going to work best for you and be honest with yourself and look into how you're doing and what you feel like you are ready for. Don't put yourself in a position to fail. So what are you going to need to apply to doctorate programs for forensic psychology? So I have put in my first application for a doctorate program in clinical forensic psychology. So the first thing you are going to need are your transcripts. In terms of a GPA, most doctorate programs are looking for a pretty high GPA. Most people choose to go from their bachelor's to their master's, especially if their undergraduate GPA wasn't very competitive. So for the most part, you want to be at about a 3.3 or higher. Your websites for your schools will tell you a 3.0, but again, a lot of people are going to be applying to these programs and you want to be competitive. So you want to have a pretty good undergraduate or master's degree GPA. If you are wondering, I am applying with a 3.85 GPA, and that is my master's degree GPA. So first thing you're going to need is your official transcripts. They will not take unofficial transcripts, unfortunately, so if you owe your school a balance, you may not have access to those official transcripts, but that is something that you are going to need. The second thing you're going to need is your GRE test scores. So if you do not know, the GRE is a standardized test, sort of like your ACT or your SAT. And personally, I hate the GRE. I hate standardized tests. I'm not a good test taker. If you do not know, I do have ADHD. So taking tests, especially long tests like that, was very difficult for me. But all graduate schools, for the most part, require a GRE. I do know some graduate schools are getting away from it because you miss out on a lot of great candidates by requiring standardized tests. Because again, some people just aren't great test takers. But most schools are still requiring the GRE. It is something that you have to register and pay for, and I do recommend studying for. You can get test prep books from Amazon, and you can get like a 2019 edition and still get the same information. So most schools will tell you what their school code is. So what you do is when you take the GRE, you're going to put in a school code, so that way when the test scores are available, they send them straight to the school. And I think you can only put in 3 schools for free, and then after that you have to pay for every school after that for them to send over your test scores. Again, it's stupid, I don't know, but that's what the GRE is. Each school has their own standards for what they would like for you to get on a GRE. So some schools are really just looking at the writing and the reading portion, because forensic psych is not very math heavy. So you don't want to completely bomb the math section of the GRE, but also you don't have to be in like the very top percentile, because, you know, we're not really a math-based program, but you do want to do relatively well. So I would say at least try to get into the 50th percentile for all of your sections. Most schools do not require the GRE subject test or the GRE psychology test, just because it's not really relevant, but sometimes it will boost your score and boost your chances of getting in. So if you want to take that, that is also an option. So you have your transcripts, you have your GRE test scores, you are going to need letters of recommendation. Usually 3 letters of recommendations, and you are going to want to get these from your professors who can attest to your ability to succeed in a graduate program. You do not want to ask professors who know nothing about you for a letter of recommendation, because it's going to be very bland and very general, and sometimes they just may decline to do it. So this is something you want to tell your professors in advance that you need. Do not wait to the last minute to ask your professors for a letter of recommendation, because you may miss your deadline. Professors have other things to do. I like to give my professors at least 2 months in advance, so that way they have time to actually write my letter of recommendation. And depending on the school, some places will have your professor send in the letter of recommendation electronically, like they would send your professor an email and they will upload it like that. Sometimes some schools will ask for you to send in the letter of recommendation with the rest of your application materials. It just depends on the school, but make sure you know exactly what the school wants that you're applying to, so you don't do anything wrong. Also, make copies of your letter of recommendations, because you can reuse them for different programs in different schools. So always make copies of your letters of recommendation and reuse them. So yes, you're going to need letters of recommendation. Some schools require writing samples, or some schools will make you write a personal statement. Some schools are just going to ask for something that you have written within your time in graduate school or undergrad to kind of see where your writing is and assess your writing levels. So make sure that you put in your best paper, and also reach out to a professor that you're very close with and say, hey, which paper do you think I should turn in for my writing sample? Or have someone close to you in the professional role that can edit your written statement, your personal statement for you, because the last thing you want to do is turn in a personal statement that is full of grammatical errors. So all in all, you are going to need official transcripts, GRE test scores, and letters of recommendation, and a written statement or a writing sample. So those are what I had to turn in, and those are personally all of the items that I have seen. Now, some schools will recommend you go ahead and fill out your financial aid while you're waiting on your application, just because you can take schools on and off, so it's not a definite thing. But those are the items that I've had to turn in for my doctorate program when applying. It is important to make sure that you are aware of when your application deadlines are, because sometimes getting all of these materials can take a very long time, and this is something that you want to start doing ahead of time. So most application deadlines for doctorate programs end or close on December 1st. So that means around August, you want to start getting all of your stuff together for these programs, because you also don't want to wait till December 1st to submit your application. You want to get in your application materials as soon as the application opens. And also keep in mind that for the most part, most doctorate programs, when you get accepted into the program, they do want you to place like a holding fee down that just holds your seat in the program. So some schools want like $200, some schools want $500. So also be mindful of if the school that you want to go to wants you to pay a holding fee. So that way, that's another part of the application process you can have, so you're not scrambling when you get accepted. Because they'll tell you they want you to pay this fee within a certain amount of time, and you don't want to be stressed out trying to find the money, because it can be very expensive. And you also have to consider all of your application fees and stuff like that. So applying to doctorate programs can be very expensive. So I recommend putting some money back solely for application fees and holding fees and things like that. So that way it's not as stressful when the time comes to start applying for doctorate programs. The next thing I want to touch on is the type of school that you attend. So there are different types of schools. So there are your public universities, there are your private universities, and then there are your for-profit universities. The biggest thing that I want to let you guys know about these three types of schools is there really isn't a difference. And I say that because the biggest gripe I hear people talk about with for-profit colleges is the fact that they are all about the money. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to be completely honest, every school that you go to, it's about the money. Yes, they may put more money into the school and you may have a nice rec center, but for the most part, every institution that you go to is for the money. That is why tuition is so high. Like, you know, and so when it comes to picking a program that is right for you, I need you to genuinely look at your situation, right? So for example, for-profit schools usually are completely online, and they are usually a little more expensive, and they are usually not APA accredited. So what that means is you have to look at the accreditation of the school. Some schools will tell you we are not APA accredited, but we are regionally accredited. Meaning in certain states, you are able to sit and become a licensed forensic psychologist, but it varies by state. So some of the for-profit schools that I have looked into has a map that says, yes, this meets the state requirements, and yes, you can sit for licensing, or no, you cannot, or you may need something else to sit for the licensing exam because our program doesn't fully meet their requirements, right? So it's the same course material as a public university. It is the same dissertation and the same internship and the same practicum. The school is just a for-profit school, and a lot of people give it a lot of hell for that. But if you are a busy person, if you have children, or if you know that you are going to need a full-time job to pay for school, then a for-profit school may be for you, right? Because they are online programs and it is a little more flexible. And when I say flexible, I mean online, just because you don't have to physically get up and go to a class. You may have your online lectures, but you won't have to walk across a campus to get to class. And that's what I mean by flexible. So if you know that that is the type of environment that you need, a for-profit school may be for you. And if you decide to go to a for-profit school, don't let anyone down talk you, because a degree is a degree. Just make sure, like I said, you're looking at that accreditation and making sure that you can be licensed in the state that you want to be licensed in. So when choosing a school to go to, whether you choose for-profit, public, private, make sure that that program fits you. Look at the school, look at the degree requirements in terms of classes, look at the tuition cost, look at financial aid, look at all of that. So don't let the negative hype around certain type of schools deter you from applying, because you have to do what's best for you. If you go to a for-profit school and you are able to get the education that you want and still be licensed in the state that you would like to be licensed in, doesn't really matter that you went to a for-profit school or not. The only people, it doesn't really matter, because once you're licensed, right? No one's gonna look at your transcript and be like, oh my gosh, this person went to insert school. That's kind of weird. For the most part, people are not going to do that. So as long as you're licensed and you have the skill set and can show that you have the skill set to be a effective clinical forensic psychologist, or whatever kind of forensic psychologist you want to be, you will be fine. So I do want to talk a little bit about the difference between a PhD and a PsyD. So a PhD is a doctorate of philosophy and a PsyD is a doctorate of psychology. So the main difference is a PhD is more research based. You will have to take a lot of research classes, a lot of statistic classes, whereas a PsyD is more application based. For both programs, you're going to have to do a dissertation. I'm sorry, you can't get out of that. Most doctoral programs require a dissertation. But for a PhD, they may require you to do more research or more research-based classes than your PsyD program. Your PsyD program may require more internship and practicum hours than a PhD program. You're still going to have to do an internship and practicum for both programs. However, an PsyD may just require more hours because they are more application based than your PhD program. Whereas your PhD program, you're still getting those internship hours. You just may have more research classes and more statistical classes than your PsyD. There is not one that is better than the other. It genuinely depends on what you want to do. The coursework is about the same. It may be off a couple of classes because, again, your PhD, you're going to have those research classes, and your PsyD may make up for that with more internship hours. But again, one is not better than the other. It depends on what you want to do. In my undergraduate program, some of my forensic psychology professors had PhDs and some of them had PsyDs. It's really just a matter of what you want to do, and I'm applying to both, you know? So I'm not just applying to one, I'm not just applying to like PhD or just a PsyD. I'm applying to both, and then once I get acceptance letters, I will make my decisions based on other factors, not whether or not it's a PhD or a PsyD program. And the last thing I want to touch on in this video is how to pick a school and a program. So the biggest thing you want to look at, and I hate to say this, is the financials, right? Because you do not want to go into a program that you know you cannot afford, because they want their money. And that goes back to me saying every school is about the money. You miss a payment, you're getting dropped from your classes. So you want to make sure you're going into a program that looks somewhat affordable. Yes, if you get financial aid, for the most part, it will cover it. But if you don't, also have to think about, how am I going to make these monthly payments? And you also want to pick a school whose values and program aligns with what you want to do. If you look at a school's degree requirements for their forensic psychology program, and you're looking through the classes and you're just like, none of this excites me, none of this gets me interested, that may not be the program for you. I know when I started looking at programs, I could feel it like in my chest, like the excitement, and that's how I knew I like these classes. This is the program that I want to apply to. And there were some classes where I'm just like, ooh, and other programs where I wasn't as like, excited. So I knew I would not apply to those programs. So just kind of be mindful of how your body is reacting as you're looking through the classes, looking through the course descriptions, looking at what's required. Go through the entire program page, from the application materials you need, from the courses, from the course descriptions to financial aid. Go through the faculty. See if there is someone there that you align with, someone that is doing something that you want to do, someone that you're like, I want that person to be my mentor. You do not want to go into a program and not be able to find anyone that you would want to be your mentor. So go through the faculty, see what they've researched, see what they've done, see if you can find someone that you're like, that's going to be my person while I'm in graduate school. If you can't find that person, you may not want to apply to that program, because you don't want to get through graduate school and not have a mentor, because it's going to be really hard for you. And a mentor is another network, another person that can help you in the field and in the program. They've been there, done that, and they are a really good source of information. So you really want to have a mentor. One thing you should not do when applying and choosing programs is listen to what other people have to say. If there is a program that checks all of the boxes for everything you need, if it is as affordable as it's going to get, if it is accredited to the point to where you can sit for the state licensing exam, if it meets your course expectations, if you can find a reputable mentor at that school, don't let anyone try to steer you away from it. All right, guys, that is all that I have for this video on how to become a forensic psychologist. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments and I will answer those. Like I said, all of this information is based on experience or information that I have gotten from professors or other people that are in the field, because at my internship sites, I do have a lot of conversations and run-ins with people who are psychologists and who are licensed. So yes, like I said, any other comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you leave. And if you have any other psychology or forensic psychology videos you would like for me to film, leave those down in the comments as well. And I will see you guys in my next video.